Uh-oh, here goes Marcus. Oh, look, let's start off by saying this is a very good camera. Everything they say about it is true. So why am I getting rid of it? Why am I returning it? Well, let me start with this here. Okay, which of these is the new A6700? Before I tell you, let's remind ourselves, what is the purpose of APS-C crop sensor in the first place? I thought it was to be smaller, more smaller and lightweight than full frame, right? Okay, well, here we go. Which one of these is the new A6700? This one is the A6300. This one is the Sony A7C full frame camera, and this one is the new A6700. This camera is the exact same size as the full frame A7C. As a matter of fact, it's bigger than the A7C. Got a bigger grip. It's the same exact size and the same exact weight. Well, the A7C is actually 0.2 of a gram more, but you can't tell. That's like a piece of paper. So, I mean, look at the back. The 6700 is basically an A7C. It has the exact same viewfinder. Actually, the 6700's got a more magnification, so it looks bigger to your eye, which is good, but it's the same viewfinder. Same battery, same flip out screen, and this is my favorite 6300, the one that I've been using forever. It looks kind of the same size, but it actually isn't. It's remarkably thinner that way, and it looks minuscule compared from that direction. And most of all, this thing is heavy. Compared to this weighs nothing. This is heavy. This feels great in my hand. This feels like just right. I love this. This feels like... This is so heavy. This is not fun. The whole purpose, I think, of Micro Four Thirds and APS-C is to be fun and portable and compact more than otherwise. Why use it? I mean, just use full frame. That's why they made the A7C to be a full frame but more smaller compact camera. And that's what this is. So if you can get a full frame camera for the same size, why on earth would you want to get a smaller sensor? Now, there are some things that this has that this doesn't. I'll get into that in a minute. But for me, this is not the right camera. Now, it all comes down to this. What do you use the camera for? I shoot pictures and do videos of myself talking, and the camera is always on a stand, so I don't need stabilization. If you do landscapes and wildlife, then yeah. If you walk and talk and do vlogs and enjoy holding a brick in your hand, then by all means, get this camera. But I think most people would want the smallest, most lightweight camera with the best stabilization in the world, and the best stabilization in the world is not this. It's a GoPro or an Osmo Action 3. That's the best stabilization in the world, and they're the size of an ice cube. They weigh nothing, and they're so small you can literally put it in your shirt pocket. If you want to be a glutton for punishment and have a big heavy lens on a big heavy camera and you're holding it hard like they're walking, I mean, how many people actually do walking and talking anyway? You know, I mean, if you're doing bird photography or wildlife photography, then yeah, fine. But I don't. So I don't need it. The little action cams, for some reason, also expose your face better, and they give you a nice, rich blue sky with white, puffy clouds. The software just makes everything look so good. These cameras, you gotta work really hard to get the same look. Just push the on button on the little action cams and you get amazing footage. You just don't have a blurry background. That's it. So is that the whole reason we're using this, is to get a blurry background? Is that it? That's the whole reason we're using these things? Oh, and some resolution, yeah, so you can blow them up to the size of a wall. Who does that? Everything is social media, right? Everything is YouTube and Instagram. Like, how you don't need a 50 megapixel camera to do Instagram and YouTube. Now, if I'm doing serious photo shoots in exotic locations with once in a lifetime pictures, I'm going to be using full frame. I'm not going to use the small stuff. Anything smaller than full frame, APS-C or Micro Four Thirds, for me, is just for having fun, for walking around town or for traveling, you know, just for fun stuff. But if it's serious, you're going to use full frame. So really, if this is just for having fun or just for doing more not serious stuff, and it's the same size and weight as a full frame camera, Some of you are going to say the crop sensor lenses are smaller and more lightweight than the full frame ones. Yes, if you want to go full out on the fancy stuff, but they're coming out with small, lightweight, full frame lenses now that go down to 1.8, and those are my favorites. I love the little 55 1.8. I love the little 35 1.8. I've got 1.8 small, lightweight lenses that are full frame that are the same size and weight as crop sensor lenses. And anything lighter than that in the crop sensor world, you're getting into the cheaper lenses. So I'm talking about the good stuff. So no, the lenses do not have to be big and heavy with full frame. They don't. All right, let's compare the 6700 with the A7C. Almost exact same size, the same weight. The A7C has more dynamic range and low light capability. The 6700, on the other hand, can do 4K up to 120 frames per second. I'm happy doing 1080 at 120 frames per second. Why do I even, that is, anyway, 10-bit 422. Are you doing a lot of green screens or something? I mean, do you really need 10-bit 422? Are you really going to see the difference on YouTube? It can do auto framing. Yeah, that just basically you're cropping into 4K to, follow something around. People might say the real difference is this is better autofocus. The A7C already has Great Eye Autofocus. This is a little bit better. The A7C has a bigger ISO range. It goes from 100 to 51,000. This is 100 to 32,000. This can be stretched to over 200,000. This can be stretched to over 100,000. So this has a better ISO range and it has better dynamic range. Both have 5-stop, 5-axis stabilization, but the 6700 can be a little bit better when you have active on. The 6700 has little things like breathing compensation and variable shutter, some stuff like that. Little small stuff, but basically this one has a crop sensor, this has a full frame sensor. So let's actually take these three cameras and compare them with actual photographs. These are exact same settings in all three cameras. Here's the original 6300 outside at 1.8. This is the 6700, and this is the full frame A7C. Bump it up to f2.8. This is the 6300. This is the 6700, and this is the A7C. First thing you notice is you get more of a blurry background with full frame. No surprise there. You just have a more richer, creamier look with full frame. The 6700 has a bigger sensor than the 6300. So is it sharper and better? Let's find out. Here's the 6300. Here's the 6700. Can you tell the difference? 6300, 6700, 6300, 6700. Let's go inside. Believe it or not, even the old 6300 can find the face and focus on that right away. 6300, f2.8, 6700, f2.8, and the A7C, f2.8. So autofocus works great. Notice the depth of field difference between the foreground and the background. Okay, let's switch and manually focus on the flowers in the foreground. Here's the original 6300. Keep an eye on how blurry the mannequin head is just behind the flowers. Here's the 6700, same exact settings, and here's the A7C. Notice how everything behind the flowers is a lot softer, blurrier, creamier looking. That's because it's full frame. The A7C is basically an A7 III packed into a smaller body. That's all it is. This is basically an A7 III. So we're comparing an A7 III, which is my favorite picture-taking camera of all. When I go to Bora Bora or the Seychelles or St. Lucia, I always take my A7 III. So this is an A7 III. It's just got a smaller viewfinder on top. So we're basically comparing a crop sensor 6700 with an A7 III/A7C. I know you can nitpick the specs. You're splitting hairs when you do, but this is why I'm not keeping this camera. Now they will be coming out with a new A7C. It's going to be bigger and heavier than this one. The whole point of making this camera in the first place was to be as small as possible with full frame, right? That's the whole point. They're making the crop sensors bigger and the full frame smaller. So I really hope they keep the A7C just as small or smaller, because why get this when you might as well just get a normal camera in that case. But anyway, so that's why I am not keeping the 67. The 6700 is a good camera. It's very good. If this is your only camera, if you haven't gone through a bunch of cameras in your life, and this is the first one you get, or this is one of the only ones you have, you're going to be very happy with it. I'm not saying not to get it. I am just saying, for me, this isn't the right camera. I don't need this. It's big and heavy. I don't need it. It's not for me. Again, you got to ask yourself, what do I need a camera for? What am I doing with photography? And that should determine the type of camera you get. If I want small, lightweight, this is not small and lightweight. It's a great camera. It's just too fat and too heavy. It's amazing how much more lightweight the 6300 feels in my hand compared to this. I mean, unless you go back and forth between the two, you really, I mean, if you just hold this, you got nothing to compare it to. But when you hold this feels so thin and so light and so just fun to hold. You notice a common theme on all my stuff? Is it fun? That's what it comes down to. A lot of you are going to think this is fun. Great, get it. This is more fun for me. All right, that's it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.